So without further ado, I want to welcome our next panelists. Please, big applause for Irene Hernández from Gataca, CEO and co-founder. Big applause. Come on, it's not a lot of us, but we can make a lot of noise, okay? Camila Polensvaig, CEO of Tetuan Valley. Camila, thank you very much for being here. Big applause. Come on, there's a bunch of them. So, Carlos Mateo, President of the Association of Spanish Startups. Big applause for Carlos. And last but not least, Katelyn Melan, Head of Expansion for Ontruck. And there's a lot of history between us. She wanted to report me to the authorities for a very long time.
More than once.
More than once, yeah. You know, we'll leave that for another day. Anyway, so we're going to talk about experiences and advice. We've all been involved in the ecosystem, and I'll start with Irene because she's a newcomer, right? You were studying and working at MIT, spin out the company, and you decided to come back to Madrid, right? So how did that happen? And please don't tell me it was about love.
Well, I guess that was the combination of several reasons. To start our company, it's all about customer onboarding experiences, and with current European regulations like GDPR, PSD2, those presented a very good opportunity, window of opportunity for us to target the European market. And maybe from Spain, it was very easy to come back here and tackle the market from Europe. Second reason is more related to the entrepreneurial ecosystem here. In Spain, we have an amazing technical talent, and it's racing. And particularly, there is a racing talent in the blockchain space, which is what we're working on. So having a very competitive talent pool of people that can make your team really compete at an international scale, and especially with the US market where, well, I guess Silicon Valley, Boston, New York are the ones that are taking over this startup.
LA, now the thing is LA.
That's right. No, I agree. So I think that the talent pool is something we should really be proud of, and making it one of our real competitive advantages, internationally speaking.
It's actually funny. I think you're one of the few people I've ever heard saying that regulations is a good thing and we can take advantage of that as a company. So that's pretty cool. But you actually touched on a point that we've been talking about during the whole morning, which is, you know, access to talent and how inexpensive compared to other regions is in Madrid, but with a high quality, right? And Andres was just mentioning, well, that's good for the companies because it means that your financial footprint is smaller. However, it has to change because then people don't value the work in the same way, right?
Salaries should raise. It's not good for startups, but if we compare the quality here, and if we want to attract also technical talent from abroad, we should somehow also offer good conditions to those professionals.
So Camila, how do you see talent? You work with it every single day at Tetuan Valley.
Yeah,
so
for a while.
How do you see that?
So in Madrid, we have awesome talent. There is really a lot of people working in this ecosystem. We work also in other cities, so we can compare. And the thing here is that we have everything here. Big corporates are in Madrid. We have investors. We have startups. So at the end, it's all about being together and trying to connect, trying to go to the same objective, but most of all, having all the players of the ecosystem together in the same place. Yeah. I think that's like the thing.
Well, it's concentrated.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Yeah.
Also, I think the public policies should help too. No? I think now there are some issues regarding, for example, the taxation on stock options, no? that are making very difficult for some startups to hire and to retain the best talent in the world. No? So yeah, I think it's a work that we should do together, not only startups, but also, of course, universities and institutions at every level, no? Local level, regional, but also national and at the European Union level.
I'm just curious, who here is from Madrid? Raise your hand. Oh, what's up? Who here is not from Madrid? Wow,
Whoa.
Not from Madrid. Really? You want to be from Madrid? I'll give you passports. No, I'm asking this because it's interesting. As Camila was pointing out, this attracts, and it's a problem of attracting and retaining, not just the locals, but people, because it brings a lot of people together as a big city. So you work on one of the future unicorns. So how do you see that?
I mean, in Ontruck, we're 25 different nationalities.
Whoa.
And that's with around 150 employees. So we're definitely doing the international part, and that just comes from the idea that if you want to operate internationally, you have to be international. And I think a lot of this is kind of, you see it starts with talent, you attract international talent attracts international clients, international investors, and it's kind of it's a chicken and the egg, and you have to start somewhere. Talent is a pretty good place to begin.
Well, I'll tell a good story. Those of you that don't know Katelyn, she used to be the director of Tetuan Valley, and she came from the US to study here, and she stayed. And every time her parents go like, why don't you come back? She's like, no, Spain is a place to be, Dad. Right? So we did a good thing with you.
It's not, when you tell people, you're like, do you want to come to Spain? Everyone's like, yes. And then they see the average salaries, and sometimes they go, maybe not less. And stock options are a really good way to make it so that startups who maybe don't have that much cash have access to that kind of talent. But if the regulation isn't helping out, then that's definitely, especially for earlier stage companies, it's a challenge.
So you mentioned, and we're going to go back that way. So you mentioned the fact that the more international your talent is, which Madrid to some degree it has an advantage maybe over other areas because a lot of people fly through here, so it's easier. How do you see that? And you mentioned that investors follow also. So how do you see the access to funding in Madrid? I mean, I'm going to throw the ball here because there's always this notion that there's more funding in Barcelona versus Madrid or other areas of the country. But how do you see that on the ground?
So, I mean, macro level, the data is, it's the amount of investment in Spain in general has multiplied by, I think, 2x some in the past 5 years. Yeah, it keeps growing and growing, and the good news is the growth that we're seeing on a macro level is principally from private international investors. So that's exactly what you want to be seeing. So something's going in the right direction. The way we see that on the ground, I mean, I can speak from Ontruck. More than 70% of our investors are international. So, I mean, we're a proof of the fact that things are starting to change here.
Have you put them like an apartment here in Madrid so they can come and visit, especially the Brits,
That's not my area of responsibility.
Okay,
but
fair point.
But they love to come visit us.
Carlos?
Yeah, I think it's getting better. No, the ecosystem and the investment ecosystem on startups is growing. It's getting more mature. No, there are some entrepreneurs that already sent their startup and they are reinvesting their benefits on new startups. So I think it's getting better each day. No. But there are still some gaps in funding, especially in the last stages of our startups. No? There are some big rounds that are very hard to achieve here in Spain, and you need to get some foreign investors to fill that gap. No? So I think we need to work on that. We need to focus on redirecting the investment in Spain. Right now, investors mostly in Spain are investing on real estate. And I think if we want to have a modern economy and if we want to digitalize all our economy, we need to redirect this investment on startups. No? And we need some political leadership that make this happen. And I think it's very urgent. No? We should do it, and we should do it now.
Yeah. Diversification of investment, basically.
Yeah, well, as Carlos says, it's getting better. It's growing, and we see changes. But still, from the startup point of view, we see how startups, for example, at Tetuan Valley, they want to have access to investors, and we have investors that they want to have deal flow, good deal flow, and still they are in need, like somehow they can't get together. So I think investment, they have to open their doors a bit more, and startups, they need to have access to that. Somehow, like, it doesn't happen that much.
Yeah, because a lot of the startups in Tetuan Valley are very early stage,
Yes.
right? So most investors just want a little bit more mature companies, right? So how are we filling that gap?
Well, there are new VCs or investors that they are looking for these kind of startups, that they are in the very early stage. But still, like, you have to be there. You have to be inside communities or ecosystems where you can find the people that they are looking for you. Yeah. So at the end, it's like being there and understanding who is working for what.
So pushing everyone in the same room,
Yeah.
basically. Irene, how do you see it from your side?
Well, I may have a biased opinion here. From the entrepreneur's perspective, I definitely saw in funding one of the main challenges that Spanish entrepreneurs face, especially in early stages. For me, there is a lack of funding in seed or pre-seed companies, and that is what really drives innovation. If we're killing ideas in their seed stage, we will never get to be one of the innovation hubs, at least a reference, international reference. So I'm optimistic. When I came back, I was positively surprised of what I saw. But we need to do more efforts in funding companies in their very early stages. The mindset I've seen is that there is still a lot of risk-adverse mindset in terms of investment. And I think we need to bet more for people when they truly believe in their ideas. There is one way to solve this. I think in Spain we are not involving enough the academic world. Universities could do way more in fostering entrepreneurship within their students, and that's a cheap way to have people that have time and a lot of resources to start seeding those projects without needing so much money. So I definitely would encourage IE is doing a great job, but those are all business schools, so I would also encourage for universities and their college students.
So I think we have a lot of young people. So any students, raise your hand. Wow, there you go. So did you hear what she said? What she said, right? You have to do that. Any professors? Some professors, there you go. Okay, talk to your people. Bring us the dean. We'll talk with the dean. No, but it's true. Just out of curiosity, you guys have funding, right? But is it funding from the US?
No, it's from Spain, actually.
It's from Spain. Mm-hmm. Good. You should say that. Good. So keeping up with you and staying with you, you do a lot of B2B, right? So how do you see, specifically Madrid being such a big city, do you find it easier to find those corporations here, or you don't see really a specific difference?
I've always been in the B2B world. I worked for Telefonica, consulting to multinational corporations. So I know those giants very well. I think it's easy to sit down with them if you have the right contacts. What it's very difficult is to really materialize and make something out of those conversations. There's a lot of open innovation. They're willing to hear. I feel there is still some room of improvement to make that really happen.
So a lot of blah, 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 not enough.
Well, I think there's a lot of willingness, just the processes, it's the bureaucracy, we need to overcome those a lot.
Okay, Camila, you also work with corporations. Also, they try to be more startup-ish, right? So
yeah, the thing is, it's very trendy. So everyone wants to be in the picture. And we see some changes. Like some years ago, everyone wanted the picture, but that was like kind of it. Like we're here, and that's all. But now corporates are getting more involved and want to do real things. They want to see results, and they really want to understand how the entrepreneurship world works, what they do, and how to work together. And there are different initiatives in Madrid, like Media, that Tetuan Valley is part of, And they are really working in getting everyone together to work on the same objective and to do real things, like corporates, like universities. Even though this year, after 10 years working with private universities, this year Tetuan Valley was working with Universidad Autónoma de Madrid because they are really changing how they work. We work with scientific researchers in trying to, okay, you've been working with this for some years, how you're going to make a business out of it.
Like her, how are you going to spin it out? Right?
Yeah, and it's the public sector who is really wanting to change things too. So everyone is doing their part. So it's
getting there.
Yeah.
You won't believe this, but I had that same conversation with Autónoma de Madrid maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And they just weren't ready for it. They wanted to do it, they just weren't ready.
Yeah, it's awesome because now they are.
So it's getting there, it's
Yeah.
getting there. Carlos.
Yeah, I think we all agree that everything is improving, no? Everything is getting better. Maybe not the fast that we wish it to be, but sure, most corporations are realizing that it's much more, there are more chances that the innovation they need to keep growing in the future or even to survive in the future is not going to come from their employees, no? Because they are already doing their jobs. So they are realizing that the startups are a very good source of innovation. And yeah, we are getting from that point when they only wanted the picture with the startups to a point where what they want to do is to integrate these startups in their own processes, to sell the products of the startups to their own clients. And I think that's the good way to do it, no? To look for open innovation. And it's happening.
It's actually interesting you bring that up because yesterday I was hosting the innovation stage, and the amount of panels I had on why open innovation is much needed, how should you work with a corporation, how corporations should work with startups. Like it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've never seen that before. So that now there's a lot more content and a lot more involvement of corporations in trying to get that to work.
Yeah, they learn from their mistakes also, because I think it's not cheap to keep a startup program every year if you don't get results. So now they are focusing more on getting results, which I think it's very good for the corporate, but mostly for the startup.
Yeah. And Katelyn, you work with camioneros, so how is that panning out?
It's definitely challenging a lot, and some of the biggest companies sometimes are some of the most challenging to work with, because, for example, Ontruck, we have when you deliver a shipment, you have a proof of delivery, which is a piece of paper. Ontruck has digitalized that. So you go and you pitch a corporation, we have this great functionality, it's gonna help your life, and they're like, okay, yeah, but I'm still gonna need that faxed. And
Can you fax it, please?
And it's frustrating. But at the same time, I think that it's more fashionable to be an entrepreneur. And I think that that's a cultural thing, which helps make it so that it's still a challenge, but it's easier and easier. And I think a lot of these corporations, too, have learned that if you don't innovate, someone else might innovate you out of the market. So I think it's starting to be taken a little bit more seriously than just for the picture.
Yeah, now it's hurting.
For some sectors, it has hurt, and for other sectors, it will hurt. But those are those are general trends. So I think we all agree. Things are getting better, but there's still a long way to go. And selling to big corporations is always time-consuming and a little bit of a challenge, but...
That's true. So we'll still have a little bit of time, but we do need to go fast. So I'm going to skip one of the questions we had and go directly to how can we attract... We were talking at the beginning about the part of the key to the ecosystem is to bring more foreign talent and retain it. Like that mix of local and foreign creates a very powerful combination. So what are your ideas on how could we actually accelerate that? Like either put the call out there to bring more people here, and those that come, how do you retain them? And mix them also, because in some cities you actually see a lot of foreigners, but we are only dealing with us, right? It's the diaspora working with the diaspora and not actually mingling with the locals. So how do we achieve that? We have 5 minutes, so go.
I think it's you have to make it easy for people to come here. From the part where you get your immigration visa.
Was it easy for you?
It was absolutely terrible for me to get my visa 10 years ago. It took about a year of, I was one of the first ones to get the blue card, and I understand the process has improved, but some other Americans I've talked to who have come over, still, we're talking about months and months of uncertainty, and you don't know where you're gonna live, and should I accept this job here, and is this actually gonna work out? That's frustrating. And
Still now.
And that deters people. So everything from getting the paperwork in to getting your bank account set up, and then helping people to integrate. Language is still a barrier there. Spanish, you don't speak English. People from afar who don't
What, are you saying
speak
Spanish don't speak English? What are you talking about? Okay, thank you. Carlos.
Yeah, I think there is, in Madrid alone, in Comunidad de Madrid, I think there are 15 universities, so we have great talent. 2 out of the 10 best business schools in the world are also here in Madrid, IE Business School, IESE. So we have great talent here, but there are some other profiles, maybe like big data specialist or AI specialist, that we are, there's lack of this kind of profile. So we need to look for them outside, no? And in a very natural way, I think we are looking for them, we find them. The problem comes when you need to
attract them.
Yeah, attract them. So, and that's the key point where we need to work, no? The startup visas are not working so well, no? According to your experience and according to the experience of any entrepreneur that I asked.
I was going to ask you, like, you're very close, from the association is very close to the political level, right? So do you see any movement there? Is it getting better? Are there even planning on getting it better?
Yes, planning, yes, sure.
Executing?
Executing is another history, no? Right now, everybody knows that there is a political instability here in Spain, so political parties are not getting along so well, and there's no government. So right now, things are a little bit more paused than we would like. But yeah, sure, they are working on this. The Spanish startup associations, we talk a lot with them. We tell them what we need to do, and they know what to do. No? Now it's a time that they get along together and they start making things happen, no? Approving a startup law here in Spain that fixes everything that is wrong right now, and this includes the startup visas, what we talked before about the stock options. We are talking about tax incentives for investment, no? For any person or any company that invests on startups. So there is a lot to do, and we need it to be done now, no? Before we lose the train.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that they promise things and then they don't deliver. Really shocked about the.
Yeah, at least they start promising the things that we really.
Yeah,
need.
that's a good point.
So it's
now they're at least promising something that makes sense.
A little step forward.
Good point, Camila.
So at the startup school, we have people from all around the world because it's in English. So we always have someone from other countries. Spain is a very attractive place where to be. So that's like check, people want to come here. But then once, in our case, that the startup school is over, they have to go back to their countries because they don't see opportunities here. So it's attractive, yes, but once they come, they have no, or they don't have jobs, or they have difficulties with their visa, or if they want to have their startup here, they have difficulties because they don't have the contact with investors or with the corporates. So if you have to have all that, and it's difficult here, you can come for a while, but then you have to go back to your place. Mm-hmm. So I think there are still things that we have to do to open the doors for everyone.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we make
true.
it easier here.
We don't see it because we're locals in most cases,
yeah.
and we already have our networks, right? But okay, Irene?
I would say we could do 3 things. The first one is to focus a little bit more. We can't do everything right. So why not we are good just in 2, 3 verticals where we could actually say we're the best at AI, at big data, wherever you name it. London is fintech, so we could be the reference for 2, 3 verticals and be good at them. We can't be good at all of them. So some focus would help in being the reference for something. Second, promotion. I think we could promote ourselves at international levels a little bit better. Branding is a big part of everything. And third, to build a one-stop shop for international entrepreneurs. So when I've been talking to other countries, Malta among them, it's impressive how entering one point of contact in the government would lead me to that person that would solve my entire life in building my own business in Malta. So first is being able to set up a legal company in Spain should be way easier, but then to have everything that you need to build that business around, even your own living expenses, sure, tax incentives, but to have one single organization responsible for helping you throughout all the process. I think those 3 things would be very important.
Yeah, sure. Bureaucracy.
You're taking notes here? You're taking notes
so
here?
sure. That's what every entrepreneur says. No, if you talk with them, they tell you your problems, and that's one of the main problems that entrepreneurs have. No, a lot of bureaucracy is very hard. Too much time and effort for setting up your company here. No, it takes 28 minutes in Lisboa to set up a company. I think in Madrid, maybe between 1 week and 3, depending on the notary and whatever.
If you know what you're doing, maybe 1 week.
Yeah, it's the best case.
That's
it. The best case scenario is 1 week. So it may seem like a little thing, but when we talk about, for example, a marketplace or a website where we are selling things, any extra click that you have in the purchase process, it makes that you are losing at 20% of your clients. So imagine what happens if you are forcing people to go to the public registry, then to the bank, then to the notary, then to another public registry. It's a nightmare. No? And the other most important thing that I think we should fix is the social security fee or tax, no, that every entrepreneur needs to pay. No? We are talking about talent. The first talent that we need to attract are entrepreneurs. No?
Yeah, well, the autonomous thing is like the first roadblock for a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, what did you just say? That I have to pay for not doing anything? What?
Yeah, that's it.
So, yeah.
You don't have choice. It doesn't matter if you don't have sales. It doesn't matter if you don't have any kind of investment or financing. Yeah. You have to pay 380 euros every month. No? So it makes very difficult to people to take the decision to start a company. And also there's another bad result from that. That is, it's an indirect one. That some people start thinking that being an entrepreneur is only for the rich people. And I think that's a very sad thought that we need to fix urgently.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, well, now being in the table.
Well, with that high note, I don't know if I will call it high note, we do need to finish. So it was my pleasure having all of you here, very good friends. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very much, you guys, for staying here. Big applause for our panelists. And well, it was my pleasure sharing this stage with you guys. We're done for the morning. Now, probably everyone is going to get pushed somehow into the main arena. So enjoy the rest of the conference, and thank you very much. See you next year.